morning or good evening, everyone, wherever you are in the world. My name is Tiffany Tota. I'm a marriage and family therapist coming to you live from Los Angeles, California. And today we are going to be talking about finding your space from familial obligation. So before we get started, we're gonna give people some time to hop on. We're just a few minutes early, but that gives the algorithm gods, chance for people to come on. But Mira, why don't you join me on stage? Shufu khalto. I'm so hot right now. Khalto, this is the new edition. If you had to have fan hulket.
Oh my God.
Khalto's warm these days. Ya Allah.
I actually have one too.
Oh, shufti. Yalla, let's fan ourselves, my bond. Show of hand. I don't even know. It is too hot here in the LA. I don't know what to tell you guys. Oh, who am I telling? You guys are in Egypt. All right, Mira. So lighting looks good. Everything looks good.
Yes, perfect.
Okay, so those that are hopping on, welcome, welcome, welcome. Community for International Arab, for those that are new here, is a space for our Arab community, or for those that identify with our Arab community, can come in a space where we can talk about our emotional health and wellness and figure it out together. A lot of times when I'm doing this work, I have a framework. When I'm a coach or when I'm working with my Arab clients, I have a framework in which I work with. And this framework has proven over 20 plus years of me doing this work, has proven to be a pretty effective modality. Now, it's a mixture of things. It's not from a Western lens. I think Western therapeutic practices definitely have its place. I know they've helped me a lot when I was in therapy 20 plus years ago, over 20 years ago at this point, good Lord. And so it's a blend. And yet, working within our cultural context, things are still very, very new. And so we're going to figure this out together. So if there's anything that I say and you disagree with it, hey, I'm here for it. However, can we honor disagreements or things that may not resonate with you before you post or before you comment? Think a few times, 6, 7, 8, 9 times before I post this. Is it bringing me closer to my community or away from my community? Is this comment thoughtful, or is it to make a point in self-righteousness? And so it's important for all of us to have these conversations coming from a place of listening to one another, honoring people's differences. And a lot of what I say may not resonate with you, your family. So this may not be the space for your circumstances. Now, it's important to also recognize we're not here to talk about politics or religion. Today, I'll talk a little bit about religion because it does come into play. I'm not here to debate scripture. I'm not here to debate any of that. So what we're here to do is to understand how religious messages, how familial messages, cultural and societal messages impact our emotional health and wellness. Okay? So, we ready to get started? Mira, how are we doing? Any yalla news before we get started?
Do we want to do it now or at the end?
حطي شوية على beginning and then we'll do it again. I think it's important to just remind people.
Okay, let me أحط شوية. So, Yalla News is just updates that I do every Wednesday just to let you know what we're offering and where you can find it. So if you are looking to book a consultation with Tiffany, she usually does not have a lot of availability, but currently we do have some. So you can go find the link in bio and book your consultation. I'll also have the link on our Instagram live so you can easily access it. And for everyone that's new here, we are streaming on different platforms. So that's why I'm saying Instagram. I can't do the same on TikTok, but you will find it in the link in our bio. Also, we do have a support group that happens every single Tuesday.
My favorite time of the week. I love Tuesday mornings with the LGBT queer Arab community. You guys are truly the drivers of everything that I do here. Some of the most amazing, gracious, loving people I've ever come into contact. Is so aware, and I'm blessed to do that every Tuesday. So we do have that. It's an amazing.
Yes, it happens every Tuesday at 9 a.m. PDT. So also, if you're looking forward to join us, it's a drop-in, so you can join at any time. There's no commitment, and it's private, it's confidential, it's a safe environment. So if you'd like to join that, you're also going to find the link in bio. Everything is on our website, so you're just going to go to our website and you'll find everything there. We also do have 2 ebooks currently. If you are looking to find some resources, you can find an autonomic nervous system ebook that is also in our website. It's in collaboration with Nina Bratcher, and an LGBT ebook as well. And then there is exciting things coming up, but yeah, do we tell them about this now?
Nah, we'll wait.
Okay.
We'll wait. So we will wait. We are, someone once told me, if you build it, people will come. And we have built something quite amazing. Mira, thank you for all your work in all of it. So yes, let's see. Can we join online? Mira, can you? Okay. So let's get started.
Yes.
I think what is it?
Sorry, I think it's someone asking about Wadah Wednesday. I'm not sure if they're confused. Wadah Wednesday is the lives, and you'll find us every Wednesday on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. So I'm not sure what you're asking about here, but this is through live stream on the platforms, not through the website.
Yeah, you're already here. Welcome. So where's everyone coming in from? But so today's topic, for those that are joining new, is finding your space from familial obligations. Now, I have decided we're not going to use the word boundaries here. خلاص عن boundaries. أنا سكت من boundaries. I think that certain psychological terms are completely overused. People are not really understanding what those terms are. And then every time an Arab parent hears boundaries, they close their ears. Or the comment is, ما في عنا boundaries. شو هذا الboundaries? هذا الوest بقولوا boundaries. So listen, I thought long and hard. I said, well, okay, technically it's a boundary. However, what we're really trying to do is, when we're within our cultural context in this familial obligation that may feel overwhelming at times, it's really about how do you find your space. Okay. Now sit with that for a moment. How do you find your space? Now, we're here to say you can love your family without being endlessly available to them. Okay. So this space here, even though it's social media land, here, all of us, كلنا مع بعض, we are going to take a deep breath and find our space. And so what does finding your space mean? For many of us, especially those of us raised in these collectivist families, our space was never considered ours. Our time belonged to the family. Many times, not just the family, the extended family. Sometimes not just the extended family, the neighbors, the community. And so our emotional energy belonged, not just our emotional energy, our physical energy belonged to the family. Now, in and of itself, that's a beautiful thing. And so our decisions were open for discussion, right? There's like a long, like you needed to make a decision in your life. There's like a long line of people that had an opinion about what you needed to do in your life. So And saying no could be interpreted, and many of you have heard this. If you say no or push back a little bit to say, maybe not now, give me a minute, it may have been interpreted as what? Disrespectful. So let's define space. Now, this is going to mean different things to each and every one of you. It's your physical space. So we had a video not that long ago talking about your rooms and special things that were in your room that had meaning to you, where a parent would come, take those things, dump it in the garbage, give it to bint khalkom. You know, they would literally take things that were meaningful to you and dump. So that would be an example of your physical space that wasn't necessarily yours. Space is defined by your time. Now, we come from a culture where we're quite generous with our time. We will take a lot of our capacity and give it to others and leave ourselves very little. And this is where I try to explain to Arab parent, the older generation, said, we will give you all the time you need, yet and leave very little space. But when it's no space for you, no time for you to do the things you need to do, that's when it creates resentment, anger, frustration. And we're used to just having a little bit of time. We're feeling pretty good. I say we're okay with the crumbs. Now, I'm not saying we deserve the crumbs. I'm saying crumbs can take us a long way, especially for Arab women. Okay. Now, the next piece to thinking about your space is your emotional energy. Now, I see a lot of this where especially Banat, listen, when you are in your romantic relationships, I hear from non-Arab men, Arab women are the best. And I said, well, why are we the best? Because we give all of our emotional energy, our physical space, our time to the partner. Again, in and of itself, beautiful thing. However, when all of your emotional energy is consumed with another person and you are not receiving what you may be pouring into, again, that can lead to resentment, frustration, feeling lack of self-worth, and it can lead to lots of problematic emotional experiences. Now, the next space is your privacy. Okay. Sometimes when you share something with your Arab parent, you're expecting it to be private, and then all of a sudden, bint amek, خالته, خالته, عمته, كل العيلة, سمعنا هيك بدك تسوي هيك, and you're like, wait a minute. Or when a young woman has her menstrual cycle, which can be very private to the young woman who's moving into this season of her life, and maybe she did not want the entire community to discuss her menstrual cycle. As an example, privacy, okay? Decision making. I think you all pretty much know that there's a space. Maybe you want decisions between you and your partner, you and your husband, you and yourself. And then these decisions, as I mentioned earlier, there's like a peanut gallery of human beings who have an opinion on what you want to do or what you want to wear or how you're living your life. The next piece is space in your relationship. One of the most problematic things I see is in marital relationships or partnerships where the family takes over the relationship space. And then that I see causes a lot of discord between the couple. And then we wonder why a lot of marriages are not working today. They're problematic. They're unhappy. Well, when one or the other person in the couple is focusing so much on the parents, the grandparents, the children, and there's not enough space for the marital couple to connect and to bond, well, that creates the opposite: disconnection, misunderstandings. I think someone wrote this in the comments. What if your parents are dependent upon you or the family? So this goes to money and resources. And I have a lot of conversations with folks about this, and it gets complicated. All of this is complicated within our cultural context. So many nuances. I'm not here to give you a black and white answer. All I'm suggesting is that you take a look at your space, physical, time, emotional energy, privacy, decisions, relationships, now money and resources. Sometimes when you're caring for the Arab family and you're giving masadi and you're giving your resources, whether it's having them live in your home, this is what we do. This is what makes us beautiful. Yet, when you have family members in the home, not working, not pulling their weight, not doing their part, and you're the only person carrying the weight when others are more than capable to carry the weight, yet they're not, this is where your space, again, resentment, anger, frustration, grief, sadness, and it becomes even more interesting when you're the woman carrying the weight for your family in a culture and a society that says the men are the protectors, the men take care of everything, the men do these things. So that resentment may even go just a layer deeper. And then they will shun you for other things. But I'll pin that. Okay. So the next piece and the last piece around space that I'll have you consider is your mental space. Now, this is if you were to kind of take a picture of your brain and do like, okay, what percentage of my thoughts are on my family? What percentage of thoughts are on, and then you do like a little brain mapping of where you put a lot of your mental space. Now, in my experience, myself included, at one point in time, my entire mental space was just for my family. And so this is where you may not know where you begin and where they end. And when you're consumed every single day focusing on others, it gives you no space to even remotely think about what you're going through or what you're feeling. And then sometimes there's so much pressure, so much energy that's thrown at you by our families that you feel spinny or swirly and your brain fog, and you wonder why you're anxious all the time, or that you can't even get up out of bed because there's so much demand. Well, a lot of it is typically because you're physically exhausted, you're emotionally drained, and you're mentally trying to solve problems or issues for problems that are more often than not yours. Now, because of our collective culture, the family's problems become our problem. Yet when there's not a shared resource of everyone jumping in, helping out, well, that poses challenges, and that may be posing challenges for you. And so I hope in that you can reflect a little bit deeper and say, okay, what does my space mean to me? And where am I at with that? And some of you may be drowning, and that's okay. It's about creating awareness. And you may be already aware. The issue may be, what do I do about it? I feel stuck. So the question that I'm going to encourage all of you to ask yourself is, where in my life do I feel like I don't have permission to say, this is mine? Where in my life do I feel like I don't have permission to say, this is mine? Any Anyone have any responses to that? Where in your life do you feel like you don't have permission to say, this is mine? Mira, how are we doing? How's everybody?
Just saying that, oh my God, I have heard the exact things from my parents. We've been getting a lot of the same comment. Strawberry Shortcake said, my whole life I cannot move out. She keeps hearing the same stuff. Can we repeat the question?
Yeah. So maybe I'll rephrase it. Where in your life do you feel like you have permission to say, this is mine? Where in your life do you have permission to say, this is my space, this is my time, this is for me and me only?
Can I answer that until we get
questions? Yeah, I would love that. Yeah, I would love that.
I think the only time that I was able to fully say, you cannot come in, or you cannot call me, or you cannot be around me, is when I was studying. That was very acceptable. Like, they would just vanish. They're not even there.
Yes. So that would be your mental space, your physical space, and your emotional energy. As long as you were studying, you were able to have that time and space for you. Okay. I think Miss
answers.
What is it in? Okay. Mr. AKPNR says, in my apartment. Yes. So for those of you that may be living alone or having your own physical space, you can sakru al-bab and go, I can have my space, until your mom or dad come over and they start cleaning out your fridge and start rearranging furniture. Anybody have that experience? There was a time when, before my mom would come to my place, I would be rushing to my refrigerator and I would make sure everything was perfect. The whole house was spotless. Everything, just so there would be no comments about my physical space. Of course, there was always something, but yes, that even then. Let's see. Any other comments, Mita, you can read for me?
We have Jaberius. I'm not sure how to pronounce your name. It says, it's only really when I had online meetings for school clubs where I could tell my parents not to call me.
Okay, are we noticing a theme? Are we noticing a theme?
Yes, when I go abroad for college, I intend to really phase them out.
Okay, fair enough. I get that. All right, so let's keep going. So now you have an understanding of what is your space, so that when you leave this live, you'll be able to say, okay, find your space, lose your space. So when you find your space, you're feeling emotionally regulated, you're feeling at peace, you're feeling whole, you're feeling pretty good. That's finding your space. You lose your space is when you emotionally start to get revved up. You may get depressed. You may start to go in an overthinking, ruminating loop. Well, you go, oh, you want to stop yourself sooner than later and go, oh, I lost my space. Always go back to the breath and say, what is happening now? Where is my space being invaded? Am I giving too much time to someone? Am I doing too much for other people and not enough for myself? Do I need to let people know, hey, I'm studying, even when you're not, so you can go do the things that you need to do? So it's catching it sooner than later. Now, why does familial obligation feel so powerful? More often than not, I hear from clients will say, Tiffany, I'm powerless. I'm stuck. I can't do anything. It's this very much this victim mentality that I can't do anything about it. I understand. Believe me, I've been there. And if I'm honest, I still may struggle with that at times. So it feels powerful because think about your family messages, and you can write them in the comments if you can. What family messages did you receive growing up? that will reinforce this idea that you can't have your space. I see a comment here, strawberry shortcake, Habibti, Habibi. It is a victim mentality. It is a victim mentality. I hear what you're saying. You're saying it's guilt. You're not doing anything wrong by giving to yourself. It's that I'm stuck. I am powerless to this dynamic. Well, you can do something about it, yet you have to make some pretty hard choices with that. And that's where we get stuck, that we don't want to take those very difficult steps. And I understand that there's no judgment here, yet it is a victim mentality. And I have a whole video on that if you want to take a look. Okay. And I know where that could be triggering for some people, because you're saying, how can I be a victim? Well, we're not as powerless as we think. So what are some of the messages you received? Family comes first. You only have one mother and father. You should be here with us. Bas ihna. After everything we've done for you, how much have we done for you? Look how much we've sacrificed. Look at everything we did. Don't be selfish. How many of you have heard that? Don't be selfish. And then they'll say, well, what will the people think if you move out of the house, or if you decide to pursue art instead of becoming a lawyer? What will the people think if you don't come to this family event? What will people think if you, and then fill in the blank? Because what the NAS thinks in your family of origin may be more important than your emotional health and wellness. So if you're an Arab parent out there, I'm letting you know, if you want your children to be with you in love and connection and not resentment and irritation, you may want to think, do I care about what the NAS think, or should I care about my relationship, my binti or ibni? Because in the same way you say they only have you and them, mother and father, they only have you. Well, guess what? You only have them. Okay? So think about that. Because I think there's this belief that our children are at our disposal anytime, any place, anywhere, at any cost, and then they don't have a right to feel anything about it. So if you're an Arab parent, give your children, your adult children, a little bit of space. And then you deal with the NAS. Yeah, Ibni is on vacation. He couldn't make it to your event. I'm so sorry. Because that vacation for your son's emotional health and wellness and the wellness of his family was more important than bint am sit abu, this wedding that you had to go through for 7 generations out because there was one obligatory thing min 10 years ago. Mira, I'm getting punchy. Oh my gosh.
It's true.
It's so true. It's like, and they don't even care about these people.
Yeah.
They're like, I'm gonna hurt my son and my daughter and their relationships for somebody more often than not that they could care less about. Okay.
Right.
Help me make that make sense.
Yes, please.
Okay.
We have some questions. Do you wanna?
Let me just finish up real quick.
Okay.
You need to be there for your family. Okay. Totally get that. We are there for our family. Yet to what degree? That's all this is saying. Side note, I got so much pushback and really a lot of nasty comments because of me simply suggesting that people can have some space to restore so that they could be better for their families And you thought I asked people to murder the parent. And so, yes, we are there for our families, yet at what cost? And why are we asked to sacrifice ourselves to that degree? Family takes care of family, absolutely. And let's make sure that's equally distributed amongst everyone in the family. Okay. You owe your parents. Now, I'm going to sound very Western here. Now, I was born and raised in the United States. I understand that that's the lens, even though we were raised very Arab. In fact, probably more challenging because they didn't, while those of you living abroad progressed with the times, our families stay stuck in the 1950s for lots of reasons. You don't owe your parents anything, and they don't owe you anything. Did I lose people? Now, this is not about what we owe each other, because we're a tit for tat culture. If you do for me, I have to do tenfold for you. You don't owe anyone anything. What you owe yourself is to find your space, to move through joy, to connect with love. Okay? So this idea that we owe people things is a game you will lose every time. All right. Is there even anybody on this live stream? They're like, that's it. This lady is, get her out of here. All right, go ahead.
Okay, so a question from Jabirius says, but you begin to feel guilty. How would you begin to deal with that? I think this was when you talked about, okay.
Yeah, I will talk about that because it's a good question. Let's manage expectations here. You are going to feel guilty. That's part of it. And it's about feeling what you need to feel and doing what's best for you anyway. Because there's so much noise, there's so much in your ear to drive those guilty feelings. You can I talked about it with my cousins. I don't know if it's a generational thing. We can literally talk to our family every single day, go over 2-3 times a week, and then the next day they'll say, when into. Yeah. We're saying, well, I just saw you yesterday, Yama. Ashena, we had lunch. La when into. You're like, wait, I just saw you. And then you start to feel guilty, like, oh man, where am I? Was I there? You start to question yourself. Am I spending enough time with them? I was just there 6 days this week. I did this, I did that. And yet went into. It could take that one phrase, went inte, and immediately you regress back to, oh my gosh, I'm failing them. So let's manage expectations around that. And I'll address how to overcome that a little later. Now let's explore the difference between responsibility versus obligation. I think that's an important distinction for everyone. Responsibility says, I choose to help because this aligns with my values. I help my family because that's who, TikTok's gonna ban me again. Isn't that interesting how they've totally, okay, so TikTok, the powers of the TikTok bees are going to ban me in 5 minutes for some reason. I'm not sure. This happens every live.
Yeah, it does. Last live, they had the same message, but they didn't do anything. So just so everyone on TikTok knows, it's not in our hands. They just do weird things sometimes.
The Zios found me. They were like, the Arab cannot heal. They must stay in their, we must keep them down.
Yeah. So if you're watching on TikTok, you can go watch us on Instagram. We're for sure live there
Oh my gosh.
in case, yeah, you lose us on TikTok.
Well, I have a responsibility to each and every one of you to keep going. So here we go. So responsibility says, I choose to help because this aligns with my values. Obligation says, I have to help or I'm a bad daughter, son, person. How many of you feel responsible versus obligation? Okay. So many of you, if you're honest with yourself, and I know this is a hard truth to accept, is that you feel obligated, that you help because if you don't help, you feel like you're a bad person, a bad daughter. And sometimes they will tell you, you are a bad son. Bint mishimniha, atlin luladi. What else do you guys hear? So anytime you do something for the family, one empowering thing to tell yourself maybe, am I doing this because I genuinely want to, or because I'm afraid of what will happen if I don't? Now, this again gets complicated in our familial structures. A lot of times it's helpful when I say to myself, okay, I know I'm doing this out of obligation, and you just name it for yourself. I'm doing this out of obligation because I would rather do it now, get it over with, and then be done. Now, what we're trying to do here, Arab parents, what I'm trying to shift here is we want our children, I'm a parent too, Amri, if I want Binti to do something out of obligation, I want her to do it because she wants to. So I put no pressure on her to do anything for me, nothing. Because I want her to come to me from a place of connection. Now she didn't berate me, but yesterday she said, Mama, I see you doing so much for so many people. You're always accessible. You're always giving things. She gave me a beautiful call out that reminding me that I need to give some of my time back and find my own space. And I'm so blessed for her because she recognizes the impact. And I said, Habibti, you're absolutely right. However, I'm doing a lot of this because not out of obligation. I'm doing this because this is who I am. And so for you, it's going to be important to understand if you're doing it out of obligation, just say it to yourself. Try not to do this tap dance of, I'm doing it out of love. No, just say, I'm doing it out of obligation. And that may help loosen up some of that resentment. Now, in our cultural context, I think it's understood that when the problem usually occurs when family harmony requires one person to continually abandon themselves. Now, that may be our Arab mothers. The older generation, I have so much empathy for them. They have literally abandoned themselves to keep the family harmony, sometimes in very challenging marriages, sacrificing everything for their families. So if you start to take steps to find yourself or go live your life, your mom may have pushback on you, not because she doesn't want you to fly free or to have some autonomy. It may evoke within her how much she's abandoned herself, and she may not have the emotional language to speak to that vulnerability. I'm not excusing some of the behaviors. All I'm saying is have some empathy that their defense mechanisms will be so strong, so entrenched because they've abandoned themselves for so long and got very little in return, that their resentment, they're so deep in it that you taking even, heck, one little step forward, they're going to have a lot of internal upheaval. Okay? So in collectivism, we have to remember that it isn't supposed to mean individuality doesn't matter. This is where we're this all or nothing. I call it the culture of dichotomy. You're either this or that. You're either east or west. We leave very little. I mean, for the amount of amazing thinkers and philosophers and artists and drivers of the advancements of our world, I think to myself, what happened to us that we went into this? Well, I know what happened to us. We had lots of things happen to us. But can we call back to our ancestors in moving away from this all or nothing, that your individuality can be very important within the collective. In fact, it can enhance the collective. But that takes curiosity. That takes moving through these messaging that we receive. But we've become so fear-based that anybody that moves outside of anything that's different can feel profoundly threatening. And so it means we understand ourselves. The more you understand yourself, the more you can look within and say, oh, I got triggered. Oh, okay, this is what happened. The more you will be able to connect with others from a healthier place. So I get triggered all the time, more often than, even with all my therapeutic work, healing work, energy work, you name it. There are times where in fact, just yesterday, got completely inflamed, totally triggered. And instead of reacting, I took a day to relax and say, okay, what does this really mean to me? And there was a deep vulnerability that had gotten triggered. So now I can go to that person in a more connected, loving way because I have a deeper understanding of myself. But if I didn't have my sense of individuality, I would not have been able to do that. So you have to remember, connection with others without a choice is control. It can become control. So Arab parents, I gently and lovingly, if you force connection with your children and force all this obligation, that can become control. And many of you may feel controlled by your parents. Okay. So that's where the guilt comes in. They'll feel guilty for moving away. They'll feel guilty if they don't answer the phone immediately. They feel guilty if they don't attend every gathering. And in some families, that's every single weekend. And if you're married to a non-Arab and every single weekend of their precious time off, they have to go to some hafla, that's going to cause problems in the marriage. You feel guilty for prioritizing your partner or your children, which for healthy partnerships, that's you need to prioritize your partner and your children. That's how we break generational cycles. It doesn't mean your family is not a priority. Do you see that? Just like your family unit is a priority. It doesn't mean your family is any less. You're just saying, I need to take care of my house and then I can take care of you more. But when you're constantly being pulled, that's, again, your children suffer. Your partner suffers. If you spend money on yourself, I hear this a lot. We hide, okay? The retail therapy, trying to fill that emotional void with material things. If you spend any kind of money on yourself, you may feel profoundly guilty. If you say no, you may feel guilty. I know when I first started toying with saying no to people, it was so uncomfortable. I was so inflamed. I was like, my therapist was like, did anybody die? I'm like, no, nobody died. You said no. And then more I practice saying no, now I love it. Now I say no left and right. You reach over 50, you're like, yeah, no. And then you'll get used to it. However, I wish someone had shared with me that it was okay to say no. It's okay to say no. If you create privacy, so this is where if you're living a double life, which we talk about that a lot, or if you have a partner and you have some private things that you do in your private life, you could feel guilty. And I say, well, a lot of times they don't give you a choice because of the judgments. And if you stop explaining your decisions, you could feel guilty. All right. You may say, I don't need to explain my decision to you. This is my decision. You could feel very bad about that. But again, as I could say, on the other side of that, it gets easier. It does. You'll feel stronger within yourself. So how much time do we have? Oh, why does this person always call? Okay, you know what? Mira, let's go to, there's so much. Okay, so let's talk about how to actually find your space. Number one, stop over-explaining. Instead of, I can't come because I have so much going on, I really wish I could, excuse, you start to say, well, I'm doing this. Stop. Take a deep breath and try. I won't be able to make it. Now the Arab family is going to be, you don't need a courtroom defense for saying, I won't be able to make it. You keep repeating it. At some point, they will get used to that response. But they may crescendo. They may get very upset with that. And it's like a parrot. You know how the parrot repeats itself? I'm sorry, I won't be able to make it. Why? I'm just letting you know I won't be able to make it. Why? What happened? I'm sorry, I won't be able to make it. You say it enough times. I know Arab families can be very relentless. You may have to say it 6, 7, 8, 9, 50 times. Stick with it. They will lower themselves. I mean, they will lower the intensity if you stick with it. But a lot of times we don't stick with it enough. We go back to over-explaining. Then you're starting the wheel all over again. I got a lot of pushback for this one. A lot of you aren't going to like it. Create response time. I am guilty of this too. My mom calls. I don't care what I'm doing. Pick up the phone, no matter what. Because on the other end, are they going to, like, even when my dad was sick, I'm like, oh my God, hospital. And then the Arab parent will call 6, 7, 8, 9 times. You think it's an emergency. Your nervous system is inflamed. You're saying, oh my God, somebody died. What happened? Because we typically go to the worst case scenario versus then you're like, mom, baba, shusad, everything's okay. Yeah, you know, I'm making warak tawali. I'm in the middle of my workday. Why are you calling me 6, 7, 8, 9 times? Now, one of the hardest things is because there's this belief it's going to be that one time you don't pick up the phone that something really bad happens. And I understand that. That's not lost on me. Do what you feel is best, but you may want to think about your space to create some response time. You don't have to answer every request immediately. Let me think about it and get back to you. That's not just with our families. This could be friends. This could be your partner. Just take a minute, collect yourself and ask, is this obligation or is this something I really want to do? Do I want my time back? Because if I go have coffee with this friend or go have coffee with this cousin, but it's going to take me away from things that have been on my to-do list, you want to create some space between their request and your response. But many of us are conditioned to do things right away, answer things right away, fast. All I'm encouraging you to do is create a response time for you. Now, if you're what I call a marinator, you're somebody that needs to have time to think things through, to regulate your emotion. You may get, people may have said you're too slow, you don't react fast enough. No, do not pathologize yourself for that. You need time to think. Honor yourself with that. And so, okay, my response time is not on your timeline. It's on my timeline. So think about what that might mean for you. Number 3, decide what is yours. Is this my responsibility, their responsibility, or a shared responsibility? Now, be really careful with this one, because many of you take on so much responsibility that's not even yours. So you want to find your space, do the things you want to do for you first. That really helped. If you take your list of things to do, if I do X, Y, Z, I do these 3 things, and that creates a fullness in my heart, I feel good in my body, then I will go do everything for the family. They're fine. Nothing is urgent. They may act like everything is urgent, but the reality is if you slow down and create this response time, nothing is truly urgent. And so you want to say, don't wait until you're exhausted. So if you fill your cup first, and I'm saying just a little bit, then you go into the family, because once you're in the family house, there's going to be probably 1,000 things you need to do for them. And then by the time you get home, you're not going to have anything left. So I'm saying front end it, do your stuff first, and then help them. So what does that mean? You may want to schedule some alone time to just figure things out for yourself. You may want to find time to rest. Now, rest can mean lots of things to different people. You may want time to schedule your exercise. You want to schedule time for your relationships. For those that are married, please find time for your partner. I know my generation, we weren't really taught to have hobbies or do things outside of work and study. There may be something you're interested in doing, maybe taking an art class, taking a music class, maybe learning jujitsu. I don't know. And that's a hobby you want to lean into because that's going to make you feel good. The more you feel good, the better you're going to be to your family. Your spiritual practices, whatever that means, whatever faith calls upon you, travel. Sometimes people feel really restored with travel and getting out of the environment to mix it up. I'm a firm believer in that. And your creative time in whatever that looks like for you. And creativity doesn't always have to be art. It could be building something or creating something. So your finding your space is not selfish time. It's your time to restore. Stop using your guilt as your decision maker. Number 5 is probably one of the most important ones. A lot of times you use your guilt. If I knew nobody would be disappointed in me, what would I choose? Start there. Because a lot of times the guilt is the decision maker, which then leads you into that I'm giving everything to everyone. Then you're exhausted. Then you're frustrated. Then you have an emotional reaction. You may get pissed off. You may get angry and yell and scream. And then the family says, oh, what happened? Why are you so angry? What did I do? Then you move into the apology tour. I'm so sorry. Okay, I didn't mean it. Without recognizing that it was your guilt that was driving your decisions, which then led to an intense emotional reaction, which then led to causing disconnection with your family, the family you're doing things for to create connection. Well, when you're creating connection from obligation, more often than what is healthy for you, it causes disconnection. So if you were to ask yourself, what am I afraid of? So much fear. I had family members terrified of my grandfather, terrified if they did anything for themselves, anything outside of what His Highness, Sorry, Sido, but you were a tyrant. Terrified, lived their entire existence pleasing somebody that could never be pleased. And then to find out this person wasn't at all what you thought he was. So think about that in your own family. Who are you trying to please? Do you even respect these people? You can respect them as your parents, but are they moving in a way that's in alignment with your values? Now, I know this may sound harsh, and I know it may sound direct, and I know these are truths we may not want to face. I understand how hard all this is. However, it's important for you to understand who or what are you afraid of. Now, in some cases, yeah, there may be some real threats, and be careful with that. But for the majority of you, what are you afraid of? What will happen if you actually took time for yourself? What are they going to do? Once you overcome that and get underneath that the fear is something you're creating in your mind. I'm afraid they'll be angry. I'm afraid they'll call me selfish. I'm afraid they'll withdraw love. I'm afraid they'll talk about me. I'm afraid they'll guilt me into this. I'm afraid they'll say I'm changing. They'll say I've forgotten where I came from. They'll say they'll stop meeting me. Believe me, you're going to hear all that. And they'll still be there. So this is where I try and teach everyone that I work with is it's lowering the volume. They're still going to talk. They're still going to do all those fears that you have. Yes, they're going to do all that. Not once, not twice, 50 times. Yet what you're doing in restoring yourself doesn't change the fact that it is good for you, which what's good for you, in turn, you'll be better for them. Irrespective of all this noise, because that's all it is. It's just lies. It's not even true. They're not going to cut you off. You're going to cut them off before you're going to cut them off before they cut you off. Believe me, because they're going to push you to the point where they want to cut you off. That's why I'm having this conversation. I don't want you to get to the point where you're so angry and frustrated that you're going to cut them off. Now, in some abusive cases, sure. But yet, can we bridge the gap? Can we give enough to ourselves so that you can feel more fulfilled, so that you don't reach a point where you can't even see the sight of them because they have drained you so much? And yet, taking accountability and responsibility and saying, I've allowed that. Now, whatever, finding your space, there's going to be a lot of people that are not going to like that. You may lose a lot in you finding your space. You're going to see the people around you, and you may have a rude awakening that everything you've done for people, everything that you've given, and the moment you set a boundary, and the boundary, there's that word, the moment you find your space, you're thinking, well, look how much I've done for them. I'm just finding time for my space, and they're going to push back on you and say, who are you? Where have you've changed? Went into? How come you're doing this? That's a pretty good indicator that that person was taking advantage of all of your time. Because a person that truly loves you will say, I want you to go on that vacation. I want you to go find your time. I want you to do that. I can love you and still say no. Now, if someone says no to you, it doesn't mean they don't love you. I can respect you without obeying every request. I can care about your feelings without managing all of them, because you can't manage somebody else's feelings. Many of you are exhausted doing that because nothing changes because they have to manage their feelings for themselves. But that's why you take breaks. That's why you fill your own cup, so that when you're managing all the intensity, you're in a more whole place. I can belong to my family without belonging to every demand my family makes of me. Your space is not something you have to earn. You are allowed to have a life that belongs to you. And there are people push back on me a lot. They'll say, well, our religion says, this is both for Christianity and for Islam. And I say, well, I'm not a religious scholar. However, I did a little bit of research. And even in these holy scripts, you can honor yourself without losing yourself. And I've learned that from many of you. Respecting your parents, yes. Honor thy mother and father, yes. But it doesn't necessarily mean obeying every request and making it's what's the difference between honoring a parent and allowing a parent to control your life? In that even in many of these scripts, there are limits alongside honoring your parents. And you can go talk to your imam, talk to your priest, talk to these people. There are limits. And any religious leader that says you must drag yourself in the mud, that means they don't truly understand that. Do you think that the God of your heart wants you to be sacrificing this beautiful body, mind, soul that you were given to live a life where you are abandoning yourself? In turn, are you not abandoning your God? Now, again, I'm not here to debate really, but think about it. We were given these bodies, these vessels, these beautiful vessels created in the image of the likeness. And yet you're being told you must break this down in order to honor another person. I don't think that's what they meant. And that there are capacity and limits. Healthy love includes you too. Okay. All right, Mira, I think we're at the end of the live. TikTok didn't abandon me. They didn't reject me.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna leave all of you with this. If there are any religious messaging that is keeping you from honoring yourself, which is also part of the equation of honoring our parents or your family, I'm going to really encourage you to find your space. Ask yourself, does this resonate with me? And create your own meaning around these things that's going to be in the fullness of who you are. And I can let you know, the more you practice finding your space, aligning with what works for you, your values, your messaging, it doesn't necessarily create distance. I can tell you it creates more space for authenticity, choice, respect, joy, and a healthier kind of connection. I've cut off my parents more often over the years than you can think of. And in each time I found my space, it brought me closer to them. And it takes work, and it takes time, and it takes patience. It takes a lot of effort. Yet if you don't take that time for you, that exercise, you will further become more and more disconnected from them. All right. Well, everyone, that's today's live on family first does not mean you coming last. So I'm hoping that what you will take, one thing from today's live is take just once a week. Well, I say every day, but take once a week and say, can I give this to myself? Can I just find my space? When something happens and you're inflamed, take a minute to say, what does this mean to me? What do I want to do with this? And give yourself permission to do it. Okay? All right, Mira. Oh my gosh, excuse me. Khazda was tough to think too much. All right. I wish you all the very best. As we say here at Community for International Arab, nawar titnawar, that the light in me sees the light in you, and go move on in your day, shining your light, and together we will heal our communities, we will heal our families, we will heal our world to bring more peace. I wish you all the very best. Take care. See you next Wednesday.